give us permission to use your likeliness on our YouTube, social media, and all that fun stuff?
Yes.
Podcasts?
Yes.
Okay. All right. What is your name?
My name is Janene.
Janene, how old are you?
I am 27.
Where are you from?
Abbotsford.
At what age did you have your first experience?
I grew up having experiences since I was a kid. I've always told my mom, hey, this happened. So now when I tell her stuff, she's like, yeah, okay. But I had my biggest experience when I was about 15 or 16.
What happened?
A family friend of ours passed away in the States. I have family that lives in the States. So I went there as fast as I could, and leading up to the funeral. The house was busy, in and out of people, to like pay respects to the family and stuff like that. I was sitting on a couch in the den. The dining room was used as like a second living room. So I was sitting on the couch, which is right by the front door, and I was kind of just sitting there grieving, and somebody walked through the door that I did not recognize, and it was a very old looking man. And my family immediately flocked to that person, and they were like, how are you doing? And I thought it was weird that everybody had such a big reaction to him when I didn't recognize him. So when that person left, I looked at my family and I was like, who was that? And they looked at me like I was crazy because it was actually the spouse of our friend that passed away, who I definitely know. My friend that passed away, I guess her dad had passed long before I met her, and I didn't clue in until I was at the funeral when they were playing a slideshow. A picture of her and her dad popped up from when she was younger, and I realized that's the man that I saw walk through the door. Was actually her father that passed long before I even met them.
Wow. It's pretty intense.
It was very vivid. Yeah. And I don't think I've told most of the family that. It was a very sensitive time.
Of course.
And I also don't think it would come off very well if I said that or if they would believe me. So I don't know if I've told most of them, but yeah. And I clued in at the funeral and I got like very emotional. And
wow.
Yeah, she's actually buried right beside her dad.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. What do you think makes the paranormal such a fascinating topic?
I think a lot of people are intrigued by the topic because they're skeptic. And then if you're like me who's very into it, I think there's a lot to learn behind it. There's a lot of different technology that's used, people that don't use technology at all. I think there's just something for everyone, whether people are like seeing if they want to believe or like prove it. I think there's something for everyone in the paranormal.
Do you think it takes a certain type of person to experience the paranormal?
I would say if you're more trying to believe, you'd probably be more likely to experience something because you're a bit more receptive to something happening. Or if you have a sensitivity, like my mother for me says it's because I was on my deathbed as a child. That is why I grew up seeing things. So I think I have a bit of a sensitivity, which is why I've seen a lot in my days. But I think it could happen to anybody, but I think you have to be a bit more sensitive or kind of explorative to have experiences.
Of course. So you said you had a couple good stories ready to go. Let's hear them.
All right. I was packing an apartment to move, and I found my old Ouija board. My brother was over helping me pack, and I said, hey, I'm not going to live here anymore. Let's try this out. My brother is kind of just thinks it's funny, not serious about paranormal. He doesn't really believe. He thinks it's more curious, funny. So he was interested in trying it with me to see if anything would happen. We put it on my living room table. Everything else around us was packed up. And it started spelling out a female name. I thought my brother was pulling my leg, and that it was like him controlling the planchette. And so I was like, I don't believe that you're doing this. Let me play by myself. We closed the session, and I was like, let me do this by myself. You can watch and see if something happens. I was really trying to debunk that a name got spelled. So I actually was the only one holding, and I tilted my head back and closed my eyes so that I couldn't see which letter it was landing on. And my brother freaked out because I landed exactly on those letters and I spelt the name out again.
Wow.
And I, like I said, had my head back, eyes closed, I wasn't looking. And I was like, well, maybe he's pulling my leg, saying, oh my god, I did it again. So I got him to film me playing by myself, eyes closed, tilted back. And I was asking questions. And it spelled her name for a third time. And I started asking questions if she had passed away here, and it kept spelling out kind of like weird answers and going to yes, going to no, and I was just having a session by myself, and it spelled her name 3 times total.
Wow. Now, have you had other experiences with Ouija boards?
That was my first time touching one myself.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the last story you'd mentioned earlier is about the sudden death in the apartment you lived in. Tell us that story.
Okay. I lived with my mom on the top floor, and our neighbor passed away. He wasn't found for like 5 or 6 days, and when I had moved out of that apartment I was staying with my mom, I actually ended up in the apartment right below where he was living. I started having weird experiences living there. I had maggots crawling around the apartment, falling out of the ceiling in my bathroom, like the ceiling fan. And I just kept having like weird experiences. And one night, when I was trying to sleep, I woke up to what I thought was like somebody talking in the other room. I flipped my bedroom light on, thinking it was my cat making weird noises in its sleep, but they were both asleep. One was in bed beside me, one was on the cat stand. They weren't making noise. I sat there for a couple of minutes watching them sleep in case they were like making noises in their dreams. But then I kept hearing like someone was speaking in my living room. So I got up, I walked to the living room, and I flipped the light on. And I could audibly hear like someone was sitting on my couch talking about something, but nobody was there. I got pretty spooked because I could just audibly hear like somebody was right beside me. It's very different from hearing the people that live in the apartment above you because you can obviously tell when it's coming through the floor or something like that. This person sounded like they were sitting on my couch in front of me. After a while, when I turned the lights out and I went back to my room, I could see a black figure in the hallway that goes from my room to the front door.
Wow. Now I wonder if that was the spirit of the man upstairs, or maybe him getting your attention to call.
It could have been. I associated it with that because when I heard him audibly, or someone audibly speaking, it was in the living room, and he was found dead in his living room, which is directly above that.
Wow.
Prior to COVID-19, I was playing roller derby. So I had all of my gear, like my skates, my knee pads, all that stuff. During the summer, I tried to skate around the park in Abbotsford, and I came home. I was really, really sweaty, so I kind of just ripped all my gear off and threw it on the floor. Around this time, I was having a lot of electrical issues where my lights were flashing a lot, and I started trying to communicate with it because it was always happening at weird times. And I remember pulling my phone out and being like, if this is something like, stop blinking right now, and it would stop blinking. And then I would ask it a question and it would start blinking again. I was sitting on my bed that night, had a hard time sleeping. So sitting up in my bed, and my elbow pad from the stuff that I was skating from earlier in the day went from my closet and dragged down the hardwood towards the door, just across the floor.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was kind of weird.
Wow. Now, going back to my question just about, does it take a certain person to experience the paranormal? Do you feel there was a time in your life that made you become more receptive?
I think in my teens when I started watching more, learning more about this, because I kind of assumed something was, I was able to perceive things. I think the more that I started discovering and following and learning about things in my teens, kind of made me more receptive because that's when I started being like, wow, I think I am experiencing things.
Okay. And again, you said you had some more stories. Give us a few. Two more.
Two more. Okay. Same house what I was in when I saw this figure walk through the door with when my friend passed away. I was house sitting for my sister, but they were supposed to come home that night, and they ended up being a lot later than expected. I was probably 12, 13 at the time. The dog started acting extremely weird, whimpering at the windows, things like that. So I kept doing laps to check the house because I'm kind of a wimp in the dark. I saw a guy in like old overalls walk on the porch. And so I freaked out and I called my sister and I was like, there's somebody at the house. Like, I'm here by myself. What do I do? You guys aren't home yet. Um, the next day when I was talking to my sister about this man that I've seen, she said she's also seen that man there. The house is on really old property. So she's also seen that guy in overalls before as well.
Wow. Did you have multiple experiences with him, or was it just that one time?
I've had a lot of experiences at that house, at my sister's house. I've grown up with like night terrors, so really aggressive nightmares that are extremely vivid. I wake up a lot in like panic, hyperventilating. So I'm not sure if my family really believes me every time I'm like, this just happened. They're probably like, sure. But every time I'm like, this thing just I just saw this person or this thing just moved, my family's like, okay. They don't think they really believe me, but
What do you think night terrors are?
I've had them ever since I was a kid. I'm not sure if it stems from a sort of sensitivity that I have because they're pretty persistent, extremely vivid, very detailed. Um, like I have a home video of me when I'm 4 years old, and it starts with me telling about this night terror I had the night before where my doctor's office set on fire and burned all the patients.
Wow.
I have a very weird home video. But yeah, my night terrors, I'm not sure if it's kind of like a over imagination or if it's like a sensitivity and I'm starting to perceive things that are around me. Sometimes I have like really uneasy feelings in my home before I go to sleep, so maybe that kind of plays a role into the kind of dreams that I have, but I'm not quite sure. I've just always had them.
Okay. Since your experience, do you believe there is more to the world?
Absolutely.
Like what?
I'm not a religious person, and I don't think it takes a religious person to believe in ghosts, yes or no, but I believe that when people pass away, they leave some sort of energy behind, where they're able to communicate, or I'm not quite sure. I think that when people pass away, they can still exist in this world.